So, what do you think is the riskiest part of flying? Most people would probably say a bumpy landing, maybe in a storm. But what if I told you that one of the most dangerous phases is actually the very beginning, the takeoff?
Here's our flight plan for this explainer. First, we're going to uncover why takeoffs are so risky. Then, we'll break the whole thing down into 3 critical steps. After that, we'll walk through a normal takeoff, see what happens in tougher conditions, and finally, wrap it all up with the key takeaways every pilot needs to know.
So, what's the big deal with takeoff? Well, it all boils down to this. It's a very short, super intense moment where the pilot is doing a million things at once and the margin for error is razor thin.
All right, take a look at this number, 20%. Any guesses what that represents?
Yep, according to the FAA, a full 20% of all general aviation accidents happen right at the start of the flight. And here's the really sobering part. Over half of those are because of pilot error.
So, what is it about these few moments, speeding down a runway and climbing into the sky, that makes them so incredibly challenging? Well, to figure that out, we've got to break the whole process down. To really get it, the FAA simplifies what looks like one smooth action into 3 separate parts. This really helps us understand everything that's happening in those critical seconds.
Think of it like this. First, you've got the takeoff roll. That's the part on the ground. Then you have liftoff, the magic moment the plane actually gets into the air. And finally, there's the initial climb, getting the plane up to a safe altitude. And trust me, each step has its own set of challenges.
Okay, let's put ourselves in the cockpit for what we call a normal takeoff. We're talking ideal conditions here. A nice, firm runway, we're heading into the wind, and there's nothing in our way. This is the textbook maneuver. You know, a safe takeoff actually starts way before the plane even thinks about moving. The pilot is already busy, checking performance charts for things like air density, running through every single checklist, and, this is huge, mentally rehearsing exactly what to do if the engine quits. All right, brakes are released, and the pilot smoothly pushes the throttle to full power. Instantly, the physics of the spinning propeller kicks in, and it wants to yank the plane's nose to the left. The pilot's job is to use their feet on the rudder pedals to fight that pull and keep the plane dead straight on the center line, all without ever touching the brakes. And this is where flying becomes more of an art. As the plane gets faster, the controls get more responsive. The pilot isn't just staring at instruments, they are feeling the plane come alive. They can literally feel through the controls when the aircraft is ready to fly. Once they hit the right speed, the pilot gently pulls back on the yoke. This is called rotation. It lifts the nose, changes the wing's angle to the air, and boom, you've got lift. But here's a massive danger. Pull back too soon or too hard, and you can literally force the plane into the air before it's ready, causing it to stall or just plop right back down on the runway. Once you're airborne, the mission is simple. Gain altitude as fast as you safely can. Pilots aim for a special speed called VY. It's just the sweet spot for the best climb rate. But the real secret here is that they do this by looking outside and setting the plane's nose at the right angle against the horizon, not by getting obsessed with the airspeed indicator. Speaking of getting airborne, there's this weird, invisible force at play just above the runway. It's like an invisible cushion of air that can actually help a plane take off, but it can also be a dangerous trap. Any idea what it is? It's called ground effect. See, when a plane is flying really close to the surface, we're talking within one wingspan, the air can't flow around the wings like it normally does. This actually reduces drag and makes the plane perform way better, almost like it's floating on a cushion of air. And that is the trap. Ground effect can fool a pilot. It makes the plane feel powerful and ready to climb steeply. But if you try to climb out of that cushion too early, before you've built up enough speed, the drag suddenly shoots up, and the plane might just stop climbing altogether. It's a total false sense of security. So that's the textbook takeoff. But let's be real, when is the weather ever perfect? This is where a pilot really earns their wings, having to adapt their technique for all kinds of challenges. A crosswind completely changes the game. A pilot can't just keep the wings level. They have to actively fly the plane even while it's on the ground, banking the controls into the wind to stop it from lifting a wing. This means the plane actually lifts off on one wheel first, the one downwind, which is a totally deliberate move to fight the wind's push until the last possible second. Now, what if you're taking off from a soft field, like grass or even mud? The goal here is totally different. It's like trying to run through sand. You want to get your feet out of it as fast as possible.
The pilot holds the nose high to get the weight off the wheels, and then they deliberately use that ground effect cushion to accelerate to a safe speed before they even try to climb away.
So, the bottom line is, whether the runway is perfect asphalt or soggy grass, safety all comes down to precise technique. And this brings us right back to that scary 20% accident rate, and, more importantly, how to stay out of it.
And if you look at the FAA's list of the most common mistakes, it's no surprise what they are. They line up perfectly with all the traps we've been talking about. Not checking the data, yanking the plane off the ground, staring at the instruments, and of course, getting fooled by ground effect. The solution is always about preparation and precision. In the end, taking off is so much more than just jamming the throttle forward. It's this incredibly dynamic test of a pilot's skill, their planning, and their ability to really feel what the aircraft is doing. You could say it's the first and maybe the most critical test of every single flight.